Bourbon. More than just a drink, it's a story, a symbol. Legacy steeped in oak barrels, forged in copper stills, and bottled with pride. From the grain fields of the American South to the oak-lined rickhouses of Kentucky. Bourbon is more than America's native spirit, it's a national treasure. Today, we're diving deep into the world of bourbon. What makes it bourbon, and why it's unlike anything else in the world. Let's start with a simple but critical question. What exactly is bourbon? By U.S. law, to be called bourbon, a spirit must be made in the United States, contain at least 51% corn, be distilled to no more than 160 proof, be aged in new, charred oak barrels, enter the barrel at no more than 125 proof, be bottled at a minimum of 80 proof, and have no added flavors, no added colors, just water, grain, yeast, and oak. And if it's aged at least 2 years and has nothing added except water, then it earns the title straight bourbon. Every bourbon starts with a grain bill, also known as a mash bill. The core ingredient is corn, which makes up at least 51% of the mix. The rest is typically rye, wheat, and malted barley. Each grain affects flavor. Corn gives a sweeter taste. Rye adds spice and bite. Wheat softens and sweetens. Barley helps with fermentation. Distillers carefully select their grain ratios to shape the final product. Want a bold, spicy bourbon? Add more rye. Want it smoother and rounder? Choose wheat instead. Once the grains are ground, it's time to mash. The grains are cooked with water to release their natural sugars. This sweet mixture is called mash. Then comes fermentation, the heart of the flavor. Yeast is added, which eats the sugars and converts them into alcohol. But here's the secret. It's not just alcohol being created. Yeast strains and the length of fermentation impact the flavor profile in powerful ways. Most distilleries guard their yeast strains like family secrets, and with good reason. The fermentation process lays the foundation for everything to come. Now it's time for distillation, where science meets artistry. The fermented mash is heated in either pot stills or column stills, depending on the distillery. The alcohol vapor rises, leaving behind impurities, and then condenses back into liquid form. But not all distillate is kept. Only the hearts, the best portion of the run, make it into the barrel. The heads and tails are discarded or recycled. Each run is judged for purity, flavor, and aroma. It's a delicate dance of heat, timing, and tradition. Here's where bourbon transforms. The clear distillate called White Dog or new make spirits poured into brand new charred oak barrels. Why new barrels? Because that charred interior is crucial. It acts like a filter and a flavor maker, turning raw spirit into liquid gold. Barrels are stored in rick houses often for years. As temperatures rise and fall, the spirit expands into and contracts out of the wood, extracting flavor, color, and complexity. Some bourbons age for years, others 10, 12, even 20. But older doesn't always mean better. It's about balance, grain, and time in perfect harmony. After aging, barrels are tasted and selected. Some are single barrel and bottled as is. Others are blended to create a consistent flavor. At this stage, most bourbons are diluted with water to reach bottling proof, usually around 80 to 100. Some are released at cask strength for a more intense experience. Then it's bottled, labeled, and sealed ready for the world. Bourbon isn't just a drink, it's America's native spirit, officially declared by Congress in 1964. It's a part of our culinary culture, our history, and our identity. From backwoods stills to international awards, bourbon has come a long way. It's enjoyed neat, on the rocks, in cocktails, or just shared among friends. But most of all, bourbon is a story of craftsmanship, of patience, of flavor born from fire and time. Bourbon is often romanticized. Oak barrels, southern charm, golden hues in crystal glasses. But behind the warm glow of America's native spirit lies a more sobering truth. There is another side of bourbon, a story of power, politics, and the people left behind. Where from slavery and industrial monopolies to prohibition and profit, bourbon's legacy is as complex as its flavor. Let's look beyond the glass and into the past. Bourbon was born in the South End. Like many Southern industries, its roots are tangled in slavery. Early distillers depended on enslaved African Americans for almost every stage of production, tending the cornfields, hauling grain and water, operating stills, charring barrels, and moving product to market. Even after emancipation, black workers often continued in distillery labor under unjust and exploitative conditions. Without credit or compensation for their skill, to this day, few black names are associated with the origin stories of brands they helped build. While bourbon became synonymous with American identity, the role of black Americans and women in shaping it was quietly erased. Nathan Nearest Green, also known as Uncle Nearest, is the first documented African-American master distiller in the United States. Born into slavery in Maryland, he was emancipated following the Civil War and eventually moved to Lynchburg, Tennessee. After emancipation, Green worked as the first master distiller at Jack Daniel's Distillery. His sons and grandchildren continued his craft across generations, with many working at the distillery for years. His great-great-granddaughter, Victoria Edie Butler, became the first known African-American female master blender, carrying on his legacy in the spirits industry. Green's story is not just distillery lyrics, a powerful reminder of how black innovation helped shape American cultural staples. His impact is now honored through scholarship programs, a museum, and one of the most successful black-owned whiskey brands in America. Meanwhile, by the late 1800s, bourbon had become big business. Brands raced to mass-produce and dominate the market. Trusts and monopolies formed, using political influence to secure dominance. Some distillers added coloring, flavoring, and even dangerous chemicals to cheapen production, a practice known as rectifying. It damaged public trust and sparked the first consumer protection laws in the food and beverage industry. These scandals forced Congress to pass the Bottled-in Bond Act of 1897, America's first consumer protection law. Driven by whiskey fraud, but behind those laws, fierce lobbying and power plays by major distillers evolved. Then came Prohibition and the 18th Amendment. From 1920 to 1933, it was illegal to make, transport, or sell alcohol in the U.S. Most bourbon distilleries shut down overnight, but not all. A handful of companies received special government licenses to produce medicinal whiskey, and that wasn't luck, it was influence. Those who could lobby survived. Those who couldn't vanished. The result? Even greater concentration of power in a few bourbon families after Prohibition ended. Today, bourbon is a global industry. Brands are bought and sold by multinational conglomerates. Foreign investors control many of the biggest names in the game. Small local distillers struggle to compete against marketing giants. Some criticize bourbon's image crafted by Madison Avenue as whitewashed nostalgia. Add to that modern labor disputes, water usage concerns, and rising prices. And it becomes clear, even now, bourbon walks a fine line between tradition and exploitation. Bourbon, once born in backwoods stills, now poured in high-end lounges across Tokyo, London, and New York. But what comes next for America's native spirit? Will tradition stand strong in a rapidly changing world? Or is bourbon on the verge of its boldest reinvention yet? This is the future of bourbon, a journey into innovation, identity, sustainability, and the global stage. Bourbon is booming, and not just in the U.S. over the last decade. Bourbon exports have surged, especially in Japan, Australia, and parts of Europe. Global demand for premium small-batch bourbon is reshaping how American distillers operate. Foreign markets are driving new flavor profiles, packaging, and marketing strategies. Bourbon is no longer just Southern, it's global. While bourbon's identity is rooted in tradition, innovation is quietly rewriting the rules within legal limits. Some distillers are experimenting with toasted barrels, rapid aging using ultrasound or temperature control, alternative grains like quinoa, sorghum, or oats, finishing in wine, rum, or maple syrup barrels. These changes aren't gimmicks, they're flavor evolution. A bourbon of 2040 might taste nothing like the one your grandfather drank. But innovation isn't just about flavor, it's about survival. Climate change is already affecting bourbon. Drought threatens corn yields. Wild temperature swings disrupt barrel aging. White oak forests, essential for barrels, are under stress. Some distilleries are responding with regenerative farming, solar-powered operations, local sourcing, and closed-loop water systems. Initiatives to preserve white oak for future generations. The question isn't should bourbon go green, it's can it afford not to. Even bourbon can't escape the tech wave. New trends include bourbon NFTs tied to rare bottles, blockchain traceability for provenance and fraud prevention, AI-driven blending tools to mimic master distillers, augmented reality labels that tell the bottle's story, direct-to-consumer shipping apps, and bourbon subscriptions. These innovations appeal to younger drinkers, but also preserve legacy. Purists may cringe, but flavored bourbons are on the rise. From honey and cinnamon to coffee and pecan pie, flavored bourbon is capturing a younger, more casual audience. But that's not all. We're seeing bourbon paired with vegan fine dining, global cuisine like Korean barbecue or Japanese umami dishes, modern cocktails with ingredients like yuzu, matcha, and smoked herbs, from slave-tended fields to solar-powered stills, from copper pots to AI palettes, from southern back roads to international tasting rooms. Bourbon has never stopped evolving. The future of bourbon will be written by those bold enough to blend heritage with imagination. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.